What's going on, everyone? It's Cam here, Senior National Training Manager at Diode LED, and this is our next reel-to-reel on the new SWITCHEX R1. As you know, reel-to-reel, they're 15-minute deep dives into single product families or single products. We try to really go deep into these where we sometimes traditionally do not have enough time in training, maybe about 3 minutes per product. And the goal of this is bringing reels to tape light to real life. So I want to switch over here to the slides. We'll start talking about the higher level specs, and then we'll take a look at some of this product close up and showcase the kind of the difference between the old SWITCHEX and the new SWITCHEX. All right, so you can see here, probably the most, I would say, the most anticipated update about the SWITCHEX R1 is the new facelift. So this was the old SWITCHEX. There are a lot of other features that I'm going to talk about today that I want you to know about that I think has really helped a lot of the problems in the industry using the SWITCHEX. So it's not just that facelift, but today, as you can see, we used to have that kind of builder style. And so now with the new SWITCHEX, we're giving you that beautiful aesthetic with the paddle switch and the slider on the side. And so you still get a lot of the same features as the old SWITCHEX, where you have that driver dimmer combination, plus some very new performance features that I'm excited to get into. This is just giving you a little bit of a side profile. As you can see, very similar to the old SWITCHEX. Again, that driver dimmer combination. Just to take you down a little bit of history here, you have to understand at the time, 4 or 5 years ago when we first came out with the SWITCHEX, this was a game-changing product. And I know that a lot of people use that word lightly, but at the time, contractors were doing a lot of remodel jobs in kitchens for under cabinet. And so they would come into a job and they would have old school 120 volt fixtures that were already installed in that kitchen. So when they would take those off, replace them with some type of 12 volt or 24 volt tape light system or any type of LED lighting system, one of the biggest issues was how do you hide the driver? Is it small enough that you can put it underneath the cabinet and the lip will block it? Do you punch a hole and put it in the cabinet, maybe behind all the food? Do you try to run that wire all the way over where you can hide it underneath the sink? This was obviously time and labor problematic. So most of the time, though, there would always be a switch on the left side of that kitchen. And so what we wanted to do is give a really ease of installation solution where they could just replace that switch or dimmer with a driver dimmer combination, be able to run the 120 volt and then the low voltage, easy peasy. Now you don't have to deal with hiding that driver and dimmer combination, hiding that driver somewhere in that kitchen. Okay, so really some of the kind of higher level specs I want you to focus on is this is still that patented technology from us. Another one, it's still UL listed in USA and Canada. Okay, and this is a new feature that I'm very excited about. So now you get 100% to 1% dimming range with the load sensing auto trim, which we'll talk about later. As you know, the old SWITCHEX was only about 5% at the low load. That's an issue. So 5% to the human eye and the retina, it is not 5%. It doesn't look like it. It looks like more like 25%. So we would have a lot of issues with people wanting to dim it down smoothly. You would get down to kind of a lower lumen output and then it would just shut off super quickly. And that's what happens with 5% dimming range. So now you're going to get a really nice smooth dimming range where it really looks more like 10% to the human eye. But another big update with this is now we can utilize this driver dimmer combination with our streamlight. So this was a problem that we had where you could technically use the streamlight with SWITCHEX, but you would have some major dimming issues, specifically how smooth it was, but also not being able to go that low in the dim range. So now it is, we kind of tweaked the technology to be able to efficiently dim all of the different types of streamlight. This is big news because one of the biggest combinations that we see out there in the industry is utilizing a SWITCHEX, right, driver dimmer combination, and then a streamlight of some sort without a channel, maybe with the channel, to keep these jobs, these different projects very, very cost effective. Obviously, dotless is the future. That is where the trend is going. So we knew we had to tweak this technology in a way that this could be compatible with streamlight. And then also, again, in Diode LED fashion, we are trying to make component lighting. Okay, we get it. This is lots of moving pieces and parts that you have to know how to build out these systems. And it's sometimes not the easiest to install, but with us, we're always trying to focus on ease of installation. And I think that's what you get, and it's a prime example with the SWITCHEX R1. All right. I just wanted to show you a little promo video if you have not checked it out online. Nice packaging, as you can see here. We really wanted to keep a very simplistic packaging. As you notice too, we try to call out everything that is important on that box, everything from even a QR code that will take that contractor to a like almost like a website page that has the spec sheet, the install sheet, but also another video on the auto trim sensing load feature, because that is something that we really want to get in front of, and I'll explain later when we talk about that feature. But we want to make sure that we are giving them all the info they need to set that up correctly, okay? And then let's talk about the specifications here. Okay, so as you can see, still again that patented technology, UL listed, but another big feature I really want you to focus on, if you notice here, this was a big update for us. So the old SWITCHEX, you could only do single pole. Now you have a three-way option. Now this is a three-way with a mechanical switch. So as of right now, you're not able to do a three-way with two different SWITCHEX Plus R1s. It would be a SWITCHEX Plus R1 with a standard mechanical switch. Okay. Also, we were able to come out with this unique feature, this technology called load sensing auto trim for optimal dimming. And that's the reason why and I'll show you later, but why we have a QR code on the actual SWITCHEX faceplate. So it's a little QR code that gives a little description so that they understand they need to take a look at how to set this up before just installing it. We have it on the box. We are trying to make this as easy as possible. But what this feature does is it allows you to take not just even our tape light or LED lighting, any type of LED lighting, you can then install the SWITCHEX Plus R1, and then when you turn on the AutoSense load feature, you'll see it. The light will go all the way to the very top. It will dim all the way down to the very low and then back up. And what it's doing is sensing the very maximum and minimum load to give you the very best dimming performance with any type of LED lighting. Please check out more on this in some of our like spec sheets and install sheets. I am going to show you though a video here in a second, just kind of showcasing that. So next thing too, I just want you to keep in mind, as you can see, we saw that 5-year limited warranty. But also we still have the typical wattages that we did with the old SWITCHEX. So at 12 volts, you're getting 40 watt and 60 watt. And then at 24 volt, you're getting 60 watt and 96 watts. And I think this is what is the most unique part about SWITCHEX when it comes to being able to get this UL listed, is that we worked with UL for years on the engineering and really went back and forth to be able to create this and have that high of a wattage at 96 watts. So again, being able to have a lot larger of run lengths off of just this single driver dimmer combination. Okay, and then just want to focus on a couple other things, right? So you have obviously the maximum loads on both sides, okay, which you can see there, 40, 60, 60 watt, 96 watts. We do want to keep that option to be able to give you a 12 volt platform just in case if you need it. Okay, and then you can see here, the only, I would say, limitations that we had with being able to have that auto sense load trim option is that now we do have a recommended minimum percentage load. So just keep that in mind. This is not to do with dimming. You can dim it down to 1%, but for example, if you have 96 watts, you would need to have 5% of the wattage to be able to really, truly dim that LED light efficiently. So 96 watts, you know, I'm not a big math nerd here, but you know, around 5 watts around there, you want to at least have 5 watts on this to be able to give you that smooth dimming. Okay, and you can see there's just an 18 gauge wire. You can find this all on the spec sheet with that 5-year warranty. Okay, here's the included accessories. The one that I really want you to focus on is this voltage partition. If you are not used to using the SWITCHEX, then this might look a little weird to you. Most people that have used the SWITCHEX, they are using what's called this voltage partition. And what this is doing is it snaps on to the back side of the driver. I'll show you here in a little bit. And if you can see here, it has these little panels. So you can actually snap these off and break them off. So in case you have a really, really shallow gang box, this will still fit in that gang box. What this is doing is when you snap it on, you are separating the 120 volt from the low voltage, so 12 volt or 24 volt. This is very important to keep in mind on making sure that your contractors understand that the way to make this UL listed is they have to use this voltage partition. Probably one of the most important accessories, so just keep that in front of them, make sure that they are using this so that we are not having issues in the field. Okay. Oops, sorry about that. There we go. And then also, like I said earlier, we were able to really come out with some new faceplates colors that are very commonly used and they mimic a lot of the commonly used trim plate finishes in the industry. So there's a new update to this though that I'm excited about as well. Not only are we giving you more of this standard types of trim plates, these are gloss. We're starting with gloss. We might in the future be coming out with some matte finish options, but you have the white, which is always going to be included with the SWITCHEX, and then we have black, brown, light almond, and gray. Light almond and gray, specifically gray, has been a very popular trim plate finish that we're seeing in the last 3 to 4 years. And here's the other update that I really like. In order to be able to keep this as cost effective as possible, but still allow you with all the performance features like the 3-way, the auto sense trim load, being able to dim it down to 1%, we didn't want this to increase the price, significantly. So what we did is we said, most people back with the old SWITCHEX, we would give you all of the face plates in one. And then most people would just end up using the white one or maybe one other. And it was very wasteful, and that's an issue. So what we did is now it will only come with the white finish trim plate, but you can order the other trim plates separately. So just keep that in mind. Now you don't have to, it's not as wasteful and it keeps the price down. Just quickly, the dimensions, you'll find this online, but you can see still that very minimalistic design and form factor. Okay, and in the mechanical and installation diagrams, I don't want to spend too much time on here. The point is that you can find this online on our spec sheets and install sheets, but also keep in mind that I just wanted to showcase that this is not some complicated, unique type of wiring diagram and system, unlike most other dimmers. This is a very simplistic wiring system diagram, so we didn't try to change the wheel and make it where it was very complicated and it's not commonly seen in the industry. So this is a single pole, you can see here, and then we also have, you can see here this just fits in a standard gang box, and then this is that standard dimming system, as well as I wanted to show you the 3-way dimming system. Okay, again, very commonly used and familiar in this lighting industry. All right, and then kind of to end it off before we actually showcase the top down, I wanted to show you the load sensing auto trim. We have a video online. All right, so just to give you an example, because what you're going to want to do, is make sure that if you are a distributor, if you are a rep, a showroom, you want to make sure that they don't just install this and then try to start dimming it right away. What you're going to want to do is have that dimmer all the way up, okay? You'll see here in a second, and then you're going to turn it on and let it sit. And what it's going to do is you're going to see the light go all the way to the very maximum load, then dim all the way down to the low load, and all the way back up. And what this will allow you to do now is have the smoothest dimming with any type of LED lighting out there. That's what I love about this new feature. But keep in mind, the problem is a lot of contractors don't read install sheets, unfortunately. And so that's why we're trying to keep this in front of them. Awesome. I want to switch over before we talk about training opportunities, just give you some looks at this now. Okay, so as you can see here, this is that old SWITCHEX. And so we have sold these for years, and one of our top selling drivers out there, people love it. It solves a major issue in the industry. The only issue I think is why we didn't sell 5 times more is because of this more builder style, old aesthetic looking, push button with a big slider, and it just was not, it didn't match all of the other dimmers out there, the standard paddle and sliders on the side. So sometimes you would use these as standoffs, but a lot of times people would not want to put this in like a 3-game box with 2 other, paddle switches and sliders, because it was more, it just stood out. It didn't look the same. So now we have the new SWITCHEX Plus R1 here, okay? And you can get this if you're a distributor or a showroom. You can actually get these little displays that we'll send you, just plugs in easily. You can see here it has some of the more basic specs on there. A QR code that will take you to spec sheets, install sheets, the auto trim sensing load video, just to make sure that they understand how to do it. And then you can see here, it works with a little bit of light here, and then I can show you the dimming. Again, doesn't always come out the best on camera, but really nice smooth dimming. Okay, and then another thing I wanted to show you here was this is the packaging that you'll get. So we really try to simplify the packaging and give you everything all in one. So you can see you'll have the specs still on there. Okay, kind of giving you just a quick little understanding of what you're really going to need throughout this, and that it's 120, really driver dimmer with low voltage tape light. Okay, and then again, another QR code to make sure that they can get easily that video and that setup for the auto trim sensing load, also with any other installation needs that they have. Okay, and then again, just a little diagram with that voltage partitioner. You can see here it just snaps on, and then now you're blocking that 120 volt away from that low voltage 24 or 12. This is actually how it looks. Okay, again, you can see we're really trying to get in front of this. So we have that QR code here with a little bit of a write-up, trying to do our best to make sure they understand that there is some type of setup and that needs to be done right for this to work smoothly with all of those LED, different types of LED lighting out there. So different wiring here. This is where that partition goes here. I'm going to show you how it just easily snaps on. So this is what it looks like. Again, you can snap these off if you need to have a more shallow gain box. And the idea is right here, snaps on, and now when you're doing the wiring here, as well as above, this is now blocked in the gang box, and so they're not crossing wires. You have to use this. So I wanted to make sure I emphasize this, that you want to make sure the contractors that you're working with, the different installers, are using this to keep it UL listed, okay? And then last thing I'll show you, just before we take some questions, is just the other 4 trim plates. So you have the black in that gloss, the brown, kind of shows up a little bit like black on camera, but really nice dark brown. And then I'm really excited about these because we're seeing a lot with light almond versus just standard almond. Okay, and then also this new finish that we're seeing, it's probably the most popular finish we're seeing around the country is the gray. Another thing I wanted to mention though is that a lot of people ask us, can you use a different trim plate from someone else like Leviton or Lutron or any of these other companies out there? You cannot. So the way this snaps onto the SWITCHEX Plus R1 is different than the other trim plates. So just keep that in mind. These are the options that you have as of right now. We will probably be expanding these in the future. Maybe to some more matte finishes as well. So if you have any recommendations, please put that in the chat. We'd love to hear what other finishes we need to talk about. So we need to have. And then before we take questions, I always want to just make sure we talk about the training opportunities that you have. So we have a new training section on the Diode LED website. You can find it under resources. Then you'll be able to see a few different things, Reno factory training. We'd love to have you come up in the future. We do everything from standard trainings to intermediate to advanced. They're long format. We do a lot of installation and design. You get to see the facility, all the cool new machines that we're creating. As well as I'm going to make sure we have now really built out this Diode LED YouTube page. So we have everything from all the past reel-to-reel recordings, the past virtual specifier trainings, our Light Lab series, which is hands-on installation that we show on a top-down, to even our new stuff like the Why It Matters series. This is a really great one where it's 3-minute quick videos that you can send to your homeowners that talk about CRI or ingress protection or lumens. And as you can see here, just virtual trainings. So I'm going to leave this up on the screen for now. Well, thank you again. I appreciate you always tuning in. I love these. I hope they were valuable. We will be releasing this on to YouTube here in the next 2 weeks. Pretty much right around the same time you'll be getting the next product that we'll be showcasing. So tune in, look out for those emails. Again, I'm Cam, Senior National Training Manager at Diode LED, and thank you for tuning in.